Welcome to a fresh build series, everybody. I'm very excited because I'm building a Corolla again. And I get to be creative with it. So a while ago, I had Ben hit me up about helping him sort out a car, Corolla obviously, and come up with the most cost-effective way to tackle it. So basically, if you've been watching this channel for a little bit, he drove the Ls Corolla that I put the steering in a few months ago, 3-4 months ago, something like that. And he liked it so much, he wanted his own Corolla, basically. So yeah, he hit me up and I worked with him and we worked out what way to approach it, basically. I was going to do full build, roll cage, everything. But then looking around, we decided to go with trying to find a car that had already got a roll cage in it, like a rolling shell, or in this case, mostly complete. So it does have a full roll cage in it, and it also has a few other goodies. And it worked out to be basically cheaper to do it this way than to tackle it, bit by bit. Like I said, if I was to build a roll cage and do all the other little bits and pieces sort of thing, obviously the price starts to, get up of like doing all this stuff sort of thing. Even if it's just for materials and stuff, it definitely adds up. So anyway, we did some research and we found this. It actually come from New South Wales, I think. Was a circuit car. I'm not sure at what level or anything, but it doesn't have massive brakes on it or anything, so I can't imagine it was too full on. But basically, it had a 3S GTE in it, and the motor was blown up, and the guy was selling it or whatever, and so Ben ended up buying this without an engine in it, which, like I said, worked out well because there was a few other bits and pieces that we wanted with the car. One being a R31 diff. I haven't actually had it up on the hoist yet, so I haven't had a look underneath, but I know it's definitely got a 31 diff in it. Come with a heap of spares, come with some stuff that we need for the LS, to put the LS into this car. So basically the direction of this car is it's going to be a drift car. It's going to have a warm 6 litre in it. So Ls2, actually I think it's L98. Pretty sure it's pretty sure it's out of a VE. So TR6060. So I've got a heap of bits here. This is obviously the dummy engine that I was talking about last week. This is a left-hand side starter motor relocator. That's the TR6060, and that is a front sump. Now, the downside to running front sumps on LSs are oiling systems. So I'll run over that as we go, but basically this car actually came with a AccuSump. So that is, I'm not going to say a poor man's dry sump, but it's going to help basically. It holds oil pressure in it, so if you have the valve open while you're drifting and the oil pressure in the engine drops at all, basically the spring will push oil out of the AccuSump into the engine to keep that oil pressure where it should be. So pretty much kind of works like a dry sump. So the best part about it being a drift car, obviously this is one of the reasons why I decided to do it, is there's no rules. So drifting has a set of safety rules that you have to abide by, and that's about it. There's no engine, like driveline, etc. rules, unless you're getting into like high-end competitions. Even then, it's still pretty relaxed engine options and stuff. So as you've seen last week, if you watched my last week's video, I talked about that this is getting twin carbs. So yeah, it's going to be a 6 litre LS with twin carbs out of the bonnet. So yeah, it's going to be spicy. It's going to look spicy, sound spicy, be spicy. So this is obviously going to be part 1 of this build series. It is going to take me a few months, right? So I'm probably going to spend 3 months on this, I reckon. Keeping in mind, I have a lot of events coming up too. So the start of the year is pretty busy for me, event-wise, like obviously drifting and stuff, and I want to get the BN tuned, and we'll do some roll racing and or drags with that coming up in the new year. So the next year, I've got a few big builds planned, right? So this is one of them. So this, like I said, will take up probably the first 3 to maybe 3 or 4 months, something like that. But for now, I will be, like I said, diving into getting it to a point, right? So the engine, I don't have the new engine ready to go until like January, February sort of thing. But I've got heaps of work to do before then, so not too fussed about it. But yes, anyway, today I am going to dive into getting this engine in the car, not mounted so much, but just working out what I need to do, what I need to tackle. Obviously, I need to work out how it's all going to sit, so I'm going to take this sump and work out essentially where it's going to sit in here, right? And then I'm going to work my way back, so cut a big piece out of this trans tunnel, and we'll get the engine and box sitting in this car. So the key to LS's living, to be honest, if you can, the best option is rear sump, especially for drifting it, you know what I mean? Like, the inertia pushes our oil to the back of the sump and therefore keeps oil in the pan, basically. The other thing is it needs an accu sump. Now, I know I'm saying rear sump is better, but you have to take into account how much work's involved, where you want everything to sit, because obviously if you put a rear sump in it, it's going to affect a lot of things in mounting, etc., and then the engine ends up a lot further back. If you've seen Nick's car that's on the channel from time to time, he runs a rear sump on that LS, and the engine is actually mounted a fair way back, so the front of the motor is sort of back a fair bit. Now, putting an LS into this thing with a front sump means obviously the engine's a lot further forward, but that's nothing that we can't work out. There's no issues here, basically. Like I said, the accu sump is going to sort out the oiling issues that it's going to have if there is anything. But yeah, nothing we can't work out pretty much. So the other thing with mounting it in this position is you don't need to worry about seating position, because once again, in Nick's car, his rear sump engine is mounted a little bit further back, so therefore the shift is a bit further back and everything. He's got a custom steering column. The seat position is actually probably another 150 mil further back in his car. So I didn't want to do anything of that. This is going to have the standard Corolla feel sort of seating position. Another thing you have to consider when putting an LS in is pedal box. Now, this is actually not a Ke70, so this is a A71. So a little bit of difference between the KE and AE. If you don't know, the AE had a 4AC in Australia. The KE had a 4KC. Both carby, both average engines. The A71 was a 1.6 litre. But the A71 had a few better bits in it. So it had a hydraulic pedal box. It had a different engine gearbox combo, which meant it was the closest to being able to put a 4AG in it. So that's what pretty much a lot of people did with these. It had a T50 in it to start with, so people would bolt a 4AG. I mean, if you know Corollas, then I don't need to explain this probably, but people would bolt the 4AG engine to the T50 and everything pretty much lines up. The cross member and everything works. So, but the main part for this thing is it's got a hydraulic pedal box. In saying that, I don't think that's going to stay. Obviously, we're going to need a hydraulic pedal box, but I'm kind of thinking this is going to end up with a wheelwood set in it. Yeah, like clearance in here, it just might be an issue. Like I said, I want to have this trans tunnel is going to be pretty big, to be honest, because I want to hopefully be able to take the gearbox out in the car. Whether it's going to work or not, I'm not sure, but like I said, yeah, the cage in here is pretty decent, so I'm going to have to chop some bars out and stuff, and this trans tunnel will get chopped back to here somewhere, and yeah, we'll work all that out in a minute. So anyway, so Ls2 Ke70 part 1, this is where we're at. So first video, like I said, time to get this bolted to this. And yeah, let's try and get it sitting in there, I reckon. So first job though, I'm probably going to drop the suspension out of it. I'm going to chuck it up on the hoist and have a look, but drop the suspension out so I can chop the mounts off the cross member. I think I might actually have a cross member here that's already chopped, but this is going to be a full build, right? So I am doing everything, suspension, steering, as much as possible essentially, except for the carbies, because I'm not a carby guy. I don't want to partake in that, to be honest. It's too much hassle, too much of a learning curve, too much stuff to deal with. And Ben actually has someone teed up to sort all the wiring out as well, and the like the ECU computer side of things and the carby side of things. So that's not going to be on my to-do list. But yeah, we'll talk about that down the track when we get to it. Anyway, let's chuck this up on the hoist and have a quick squeeze underneath. All right, first of all, old cracked semi-slicks are not staying. It's getting a new set of wheels. It is getting, definitely new tyres, etc. This is supposed to have Celica brakes on it, but I don't know what they are actually because they're vented. I'm not sure what caliper that is either. So it could be Celica brakes, could be JDM A86 stuff because they are vented. Not sure. Anyway. Obviously I'm going to drop the cross member and I'm going to modify everything, do my full steering setup in this. Like I said before, it does have an R31 diff mounted up already. So that's another big thing. Like if you're to put an R31 diff in a Corolla these days, it's pretty expensive, to be honest. I mean, you probably, if you're going to do it properly, you probably wouldn't get change out of like $2.5 grand, maybe, depending on everything by the time you looked into brakes and, got the mounts done. And obviously this is going to be standard width, but, diff center, if you have to put diff gears in it, if you have to put 411s in it, this actually come with a few different sets of gears. So that was a good thing. I mean, 31 diffs aren't very cheap these days, to be honest. Like they're starting to push like $800 sort of thing. So by the time you do all the work to them, you're probably looking at about $2.5 grand. Depending if you do it yourself. If you did it yourself, you could save some money, obviously. But yeah, obviously this thing has some bits. So sway bars, adjustable panhard rod. It has, obviously it's still got divorced springs and shocks in the back. Front, it has a set of coilovers. Unknown, they kind of look like homemade, like sleeved ones. It is getting a brand spanking new set of spicy Shockworks coilovers. So the legends over there have sorted me out a set and they are in the post on the way at the moment. I'm going to probably, I think that's 31 calipers. I'm going to swap them out for Commodore calipers. Dual calipers on the rear, singles on the front. Overall though, this car actually looks really clean underneath. So like I said, I don't know whether it come from, I think New South Wales or Queensland or something. The roof is a bit shite on it. Like it's got some bog and stuff in it, in the roof, but a little bit of rust in that door. That's all though. Like the rest of the body is actually really good. There's nothing in the boot, which is rare, so that's a good thing. Steel panels and everything look pretty good. This one here's been over something low and just tucked that lip over, so I just need to knock that back. Chassis rails look really clean in it. Basically, I'm going to build this car as though like I really would, that's how I would build it essentially. That's what I said to Ben when he first hit me up. He said, what do you reckon? And I said, yep, let's do it, but it's got to be sick, crazy, a little bit ridiculous, a little bit silly. I like to build these things. So, hey, if you want to build a silly car, or you want me to build you a silly car, and you want to spend some money on it, holler at me. I'll, try to work something out. But yeah, anyway, so everything actually looks really good on it, to be honest. Like I said, got some bits and pieces, sway bars and stuff. Value for money, very good, I think. It is an A71, so it's the like slant front sort of thing. We are going to, or I'm going to flat front convert it. There's a heap of stuff on here that's going like oil cooler lines, all that stuff is going to be binned because like I said before, the motor that was in this, I'm pretty sure, no, I don't know whether it blew up or it was down on compression or something. So there's a good chance that all the oil lines and stuff are no good. AccuSump, obviously, I'll pull that apart and clean it out. That's not an issue, so. But yeah, it's gonna be low, loud, ridiculous, wide. Like, it's gonna look nothing like this when it's finished, I'll tell you that. It's got the import tail lights in it. They're probably just eBay ones, but the, different styles. So I think they're like TE something tail lights. Many, many different Corolla models that have similar stuff, similar bolt up stuff. It's gonna end up with chrome bumpers, etc. Yeah, and it's going to be silly. Like I'm really excited about it, to be honest, because it's going to be very silly. Twin carbies out the bonnet, multiple disciplines, I would say, because it's going to be a drift car, but I can guarantee you he's going to do other stuff. He's going to go racing in it, so we might even look at putting some bigger brakes and stuff on it. Yeah, I like building silly cars, and I like Corollas, so I'm on board with this. Very excited about it. Right, I reckon it's time to get stuck into this thing with an angle grinder and make some room. Okay, that was a very dirty job. Trans tunnel, mostly out. This is probably the worst part of this job, putting a bigger motor into anything that hasn't currently got a big engine in it. Trans tunnel, and what's worse about KEs, or what's bad about KEs, or AEs in this case, there's no like simple, good, really neat ways to do it. Because the like trans tunnel is kind of offset in the car. So what I've done here is I've evened it up from seals in, because yeah, basically where the standard trans tunnel was really close to this edge, and then it was like all the way in here sort of thing on that side. So there was like a big offset in it. I've left that bracket brace currently in there, sort of. I've just like half cut it out, but I'm going to cut it all the way out. But I think once I get this back in, like a trans tunnel back in here, I will remake that piece down to the trans tunnel. It is a good bar. Like, it actually looks like it's in a bit of an odd position, because normally you'd run that bar probably above the steering column, because it makes getting the steering column out, etc., a pain. But it's actually not too bad position wise. Your legs don't get close to it or anything. Obviously, in the case of a crash, I'm not sure, but I'm going to like rethink it and just see whether we can move it up. Maybe like ideally move it from here up to there, something. But yeah, not today. We'll suss that out in a future episode. The other part about this is this is like the seat bracket mount, obviously a floor brace. It's really far forwards in the car. To fit this TR6060, it will need some trimming. So we will probably just move that brace back a little bit, or yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But pretty much just trying to neaten this trans tunnel up as much as we can. But for now, there's a hole in the floor, so let's get this engine bolted together. Get that transmission bolted onto that engine so we can get that in the car. But I also do have another cross member here that has the mounts cut off of it, so I'm going to chuck that in so I can work out engine mounts to the body, transmission cross member mounts. I'm probably going to plate up the chassis rails and do a full width, like cross member basically for the gearbox. I haven't exactly worked it out, but when you're mounting an engine and a gearbox, obviously it's a track car, the good thing to do is not to solid mount both of them, either one or the other. In this case, I'm probably going to solid mount, just like a turned up hard plastic washer kind of thing, thick washer, probably like 30 mil thick sort of thing, that will either sit under an engine mount similar to that, or I'll make up something else. And then the gearbox, I'm going to try and run a rubber mount on it. So it still takes a little bit of vibration out of the driveline, and you get a little bit less noise and a little bit less prone to cracking things and stuff. So for now, let's get that engine and that transmission bolted together, clean up this shite, and we'll get them sitting in the car so we can work out some engine and transmission mounts. That looks like progress. So I've got it sitting in there roughly, right? So this is not going to be the final position. I need to make up some cross member spaces. I mainly want to work out how it's going to sit, what I need to modify, what I need to do to get it to sit as low as possible. Because I want to try and get a good portion of that manifold sitting under the bonnet. And currently, bonnet height, we're probably looking at about here somewhere. And I reckon with some more cross member spaces. Now, I don't really like cross member spaces. It changes like too much geometry and stuff, but I'm going to combat that with somewhere here. I've got some 50mm RCAs that I'm going to put in it. Now, I normally only go 40 mils, but I'm going to go with some probably 25mm spaces for the cross member. So therefore, like currently, I reckon I've got about 10 to 15 mil spacer in there. So I'm looking to get another, 15 mil, 10 to 15 mil lower. Get that engine sitting down a long way in the car, basically. Obviously, then you start to run into some clearance problems, but basically, as long as I'm keeping that sump above the cross member or level or above, basically, I'll make a bash plate that goes underneath it, no doubt. And then, try and get the engine sitting level front to back. It's pretty close. But yeah, I'm getting a rough idea of where it's going. Transmission-wise, it's probably slightly higher than it should be to work easily. But me being me, I'm sitting here and I'm going, I reckon I'm going to cut this whole trans tunnel out all the way back to there. So I can run the gearbox and tail shaft higher up in the car. The car's going to be low, and currently that yoke is not going to clear that transmission tunnel. I want to try and avoid the engine gearbox being on weird angles. But yeah, like I said, the aim of the game here is to try and get more of that manifold, down. Like it's actually probably a lot better than what I was expecting. Like I've got the engine sitting really quite low. But yeah, I want to get that manifold further under the bonnet. So it looks reasonable. Keeping in mind, like I said, by the time you get guards sitting on here, you're probably looking at another 20 mil on that. And then the bonnet sort of goes up in the middle. So I think the bonnet's sitting probably here roughly at the moment. So I'm confident I can get the bonnet probably sitting up higher again. So we've only got that, plus carbies, and obviously it's still going to be out of the bonnet. No doubt about that. But yeah, by the time you've got that like valance and everything sitting on there, yeah. This is progress. I'm liking this. So it went in pretty easy too, to be honest. Like I only guessed the hole that I was going to cut out. I wanted to minimize what I cut out. Obviously shifter position actually looks really good here. So around in that area. What I decide to do shifter wise there, I'm not exactly sure. It is getting an upright handbrake. It's getting a special handbrake too. So yeah. So far so good. Like I said, aim of today's video, or my aim of today, was to get this engine in so I can work out what mounts I need to, what bits I need to order for mounts. Now, if you're doing this at home, there is super easy kits for this. KE Conversions over in New South Wales somewhere, possibly Queensland, pretty sure it's New South Wales. They do kits for all of this stuff. Even if you want generic like LS mount kits, yeah, they do all of that sort of stuff. Super easy, but yeah, once again, I'm not doing that just because I want to shuffle this like millimeter by millimeter to get it into the right spot sort of thing. So it's going to be, please me basically once it's in and together and stuff. I'm going to chuck some guards on it, I think, and get some measurements for that. See how deep that engine is actually sitting in there. Like I said, well, obviously by the time you get like a carby and then a top hat on there, it's going to be sitting up pretty high. Vision is going to be impaired a little bit, but I think it's going to be fine. And it's also going to be silly. I like it. Yeah. All right, I'm going to wrap this up here. Next week, should have a heap of suspension stuff, hopefully making mounts for this, getting the engine mounted and everything. Probably going to leave transmission tunnel and everything towards the end. Not towards the end of the build, but like a couple videos time sort of thing by the time I make all that. Very time consuming welding all that shit in. Yeah, so I reckon suspension next week, hopefully engine mounts, gearbox mounts, see how we go. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date. Thanks to you legends for tuning in every week. I really, really appreciate it. See you next week. Also, if you're watching this and you've got some Corolla bits in the way of, I need some A86 stub axles, so A86 front struts. I need some flat front Corolla parts. So I need some like panels and even guards and bonnet and extra bits and pieces. What else do I need? I don't know. The coilovers that came with this car were supposed to be Celica, but they're definitely not like the right bolt spacing for the knuckle. So I need to find some more stubs for my shockworks that are coming this week. What else do I need? There's a few other bits, but to tune in next episode for more bits that Jared needs.